Yes, hello. Welcome to another edition of Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub, again from the MCG for the second week as we transition into the new South Melbourne buildings at Triple M. And as always, I look around here, the box at the MCG, the commentary box, and we have the big three with me once again. Hello to you, Damien Barrett, Wayne Carey, and Daisy Thomas. Hello, boys.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, boys. I tell you what, I'm up and about. Not also because we're at the MCG again, which is fantastic. We love coming here, doesn't matter when. But I rang Damo this morning because he gave me a lift last week, and he texted me and said, do you need another lift? I thought, I'm not a texter. I'm generally a caller. So
Safer to call than text.
I called him up, and you wouldn't believe where I found him.
Where was he?
In the gym.
No, he was not.
In the gym.
In a gym or like Pilates gym?
Well, I think... Did you
Just
watch
finished
The
a
Simpsons?
session of the 2K.
I think he called it a gym. And I said, you mean a gym? No, he's a bit like Kel off Kath and Kim with the little weight, the little power shorts.
Just doing the 2K dumbbells, Duck.
Back in, because I've got to, remember, I've got that bet with Jay-Z.
You've got to look better than him by summertime.
By September or whatever it was.
He's had an 18-month head start, but you're still confident?
Oh, I'm very, very confident. I saw him, obviously, Sunday, and very confident. And talking about...
You've only got 8 or 9 good summers left, haven't you?
I'm 51. I've got 9 good summers left in me.
Yeah.
So that's my theory.
You're also been working out 2 days. We'll get to you later. But I think I heard a whisper you've signed up to do the Melbourne Marathon.
Yeah, slightly carried away. I'm on the fitness kick, and I've got you on board, Joey, trying to do 100 kilometres in the total month of July. And 4 walks in, and I'd walked a total of about 12 Ks. I thought, you know what, I might set myself a real goal here. And I ran today, and 42 kilometres is going to be a long way.
Yeah, it's as optimistic
What's
as
the most you have run to this point?
3.
No, in your life. In the one hit.
Probably 15.
Yeah.
It's as optimistic as Damo thinking he can put on some muscle in the gym. But Duck, you've had a big week. You're a bit of the talk of the town over the weekend.
Talk of the town. What about Hamish McLaughlin?
Yeah,
that is
this one I'm
the
talking
brother of the CEO. So live on Channel 7 on Saturday night. And I just did siren to siren, so I left. I wasn't down in the room, so I was already home. Yes,
Collingwood Gold Coast?
Yeah, it's correct. And anyway, Hamish is interviewing Jack Ginnivan. What did he kick 3? I think?
Yep, 3.
Kick 3. Interviewing him, and he had a shot from about 40 out directly in front, kicked it around the corner. And so obviously during the commentary, I said, "Oh, Jack, don't ever do that."
You're real old school with that.
Well, if you're directly in front, that's a drop punt. If you're 20 metres out, 10, 15 metres out, around the corner, no worries, because the chance of missing from there is almost minimal. So anyway, Hamish has told Jack that I'm going to give him a text. I obviously didn't get that text until a couple of days later.
But Jack was very excited.
He said, I saw it went around on social media, and he said that he'd love a text from me. And I thought, I probably should send him a text. So I thought I'd just let you know what I said.
Yeah. What would you write to Jack Ginnivan?
Dear Jack.
Did you write him a letter?
Dear Jack. You really start with Dear Jack?
This is Duck. Hang on. /King or Wayne Carey. Whichever. I've got a bit of a bugbear with you kicking the ball around the corner when you're directly in front. Unless it's from a certain distance out, I'd appreciate that you just go back and kick a drop punt. I love your work.
Right.
Thanks, Jack.
Cheers. Hang on.
The old bag hug.
So I've just put my head over. He didn't write King. He sent the King emoji.
No, I did write King with the King crown as well.
Response?
And I love the response. And Jack won't mind me saying this, but he said, I've been waiting for the reply. I've been waiting for the text because it's been a few days. But if most people know me, normally takes a couple of days anyway.
You've been busy.
He said he's going to now drop punts only from 45 metres out. And he appreciates the support. So I'm very happy to. You know what? He is a serious. I love the way he goes about his work. But players that are doing this round the corner, Daisy. Geez, so he should have ended up with 4 or 5. In actual fact, he makes the most of his opportunities. But the moral to this story is Haim live on air, just asking players just to send out messages and texts,
putting down phone numbers,
putting down numbers and. Yeah, it was quite weird. But anyway, so now Jack and I are mates. and I'll be sending him some messages.
And I can't wait for Jack Ginnivan and his mates after a night out. Just to, hey, whose number you got in your phone? Hey, I've got Duck's number. Let's send him a few late night calls or some text.
If he ever ends up on Celebrity Apprentice or something like that, I'd probably be one of his go-to.
Maybe if he goes on SAS, what not to do.
Yes, very good point.
You went through a phase with that with me for a while, Dave. You may not remember it, but you used to ring me at 2 and 3 o'clock with your mad mates.
Did I?
Yes.
No, there was a few on the list. Eddie McGuire was one of them.
I did it to Eddie not too long ago as well.
Eddie always used to answer, though. That's why we'd ring him. So it'd be 4 o'clock. He's like, and he'd be like, "G'day, mate. Is everything all right?" We're like, "Yeah, what's up?" He's like, "It's 4 o'clock, you dickhead." We're like, "Oh, yeah, sorry, mate. Back to sleep. Nothing."
What I love about it, talking about Messi, Eddie McGuire, Ed is the absolute best. You send him a message, within 2.8 seconds, you've got a reply. It doesn't matter where he is in the world. And the other thing...
That's because it's from his PA.
And I mean, I remember one night after a North function where I think I got inducted as the #1 player of all time. And...
You're up today, Doug.
I was on my way home in a taxi because there's no Ubers available. So just jumped in the taxi with Jess and on the way home. And it's one in the morning once the function had finished, and message comes up, ding. Thoroughly deserved Dark, Ed McGuire, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, Ed, go to sleep.
He doesn't miss
sleep. What do you want? Does not miss a trick. He is unbelievable.
Very good. Hey, there's plenty of footy to get through. We've got to Damo, plenty of footy news as always. We'll chat about the Tigers, the Blues, the Pies, and, of course, North Melbourne.
The two powerhouses in a traditional sense of Collingwood and Carlton. Now, it's not a secret that they've got to this stage of this season with good seasons, but at 10 and 5, and with some real vibrancy, particularly around Collingwood being on a 6-win streak already, the 4 next matches that they're presented with are very winnable. Now, that's on paper. We'll see what happens. But you then go through to round 23. They're going to play each other. It's the one round of footy that's yet to be allotted times. They've got the venues in there, but there's every chance the AFL, being theatrical as it is, will make this the Sunday game just to keep it all open and open-ended until that moment in time. So I reckon they're fantastic seasons no matter what happens from here, but I think they're only scratching the surface of where they both think they can actually get to in the course of this season.
What I love about it, when you look at both their draws going forward, the next 4 games, you'd say Collingwood go in favourites 3 of those, and I reckon Carlton go in favourites for 3 of theirs.
Yep.
So it is, and the Collingwood come up against Essendon. Doesn't Essendon finding a little bit of form? There's some big games in there. It's fantastic year, isn't it?
Not only would Carlton Collingwood round 23, that could potentially be for the 4th spot.
It could be,
top
Joey.
4 spot, the way that it's looking.
Yeah.
Imagine that Sunday afternoon, 90,000 here at the MCG. The winner finishes in the top 4 and gets a double chance.
Does it deserve a better spot than Sunday on the last game, or it doesn't matter because you have the week off?
I think it would be the perfect slot because of that reason.
Because
you've
of
got
the
week
build-up.
off. Yeah, and then all the other machinations as to who's got or secured the spot in the 8, because the loser of the game could well be, do we stay in the 8?
Yeah.
You'd think they would the way they're going. But no, I think they've both done it really, really well, and I think the AFL will now just add that little bit of magic right at the end, fixture-wise.
Are you starting to come around that Craig McRae may well be Coach of the Year? From 17th and where they were last year to where they could, if we're starting to talk potential top 4.
Don't think I needed to come around. I think, like everyone else, I've embraced the whole story of him. I mean, it's been amazing what he's been able to do.
But does he get to the top of the tree? Longmuir are obviously into the discussion.
Is it just the coaches really only we vote on it? I mean,
the
coach of the year is the Premiership coach officially. That's the official way to do it.
Yeah.
What he's done is
I didn't know that.
He's got a very good first-year player in Dacos that's come in, and guys like Hoskin Elliott have got back to somewhere near their best. He's got improvement from some other youngsters, and then he's got role players out of his senior players. So it's a really good mix. If you looked at their list at the start, you'd say if everything went right for them, that they could definitely be competitive. Did we think they'd be sitting here?
No,
I didn't. I didn't
no,
either.
No. Yep. What about the form of Richmond also, as we talk about good teams? And this is creeping up on us. The careers of the great Dusty Martin, Jack Riewoldt and Trent Cotchin. Neil Balme was on the Sunday Footy Show last week, guys. I don't know whether you saw it, but the question was put to him about particularly and specifically Jack and Trent, Riewoldt and Cotchin, and he just totally shot it down. Now, Neil Balme doesn't muck around, but it's all about the now. I'm paraphrasing a deeper answer, but it's all about the now. Whatever happens to those guys next year can happen after the completion of this season. We know that the talk has already been in play about Dusty Martin potentially not being at Richmond next year. Now, he's got 2 years of a contract to run, unlike Riewoldt and Cotchin. But we may be watching the last 7 home and away games of these guys in Richmond colours under a certain scenario.
Are they playing well enough, Riewoldt and Cotchin, I know Cotchin's out at the minute, but are they playing well enough to say they get another year?
Simple answer, yes, they could.
Yeah.
I think though a lot pans out on how their season finishes as a footy club, whether they get to a grand final, whether they get close, whether they miss the 8. I think all of that will come into it, not only from the club's perspective, but even maybe the players' perspective and where they see their football.
I don't see, I mean, they're both role players now. We know that. I mean, Jack on his day can still kick a bag of goals. I noticed his kicking certainly looks like this year, and who knows what he's carrying. Because when you get to that, you're probably carrying something, a little bit of penetration. Saw on the weekend a few that he would normally make the distance easily, and they just sort of fell short and inaccurate. But I think he's still doing his job, what they require of him, and that's compete, bring it to ground, and do all those team things that he does. And Cotchin's still as hard as a cat's head.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's attack on the footy. He's turnaround. Actually, Jack and Cotchin, both, their turnaround from footballers, from Coleman medalist and best and fairest winners,
And Brownlow, if you want to throw that,
into team-orientated champions, has been quite remarkable what they've done in their careers.
At this point in time, though, is Jack Riewoldt keeping a younger player out of the side?
No, there isn't a younger
and that's sort of what it comes down to. You know, when I go back to my experience when there was talk of, do you want to go on for another year? Should you go on for another year? The point where the Blues were at, it was like, well, if I go on for another year, it's purely out of selfishness and the fact that I can keep a young kid out of the game. There's no point in doing that. Where the Tigers are at the minute, that discussion probably is more pointed towards Cotchin.
Then they recruited Eddie Betts.
Yes, correct. But to the point, like Cotchin, if he can only play midfield and Riewoldt can only play forward, at the minute there's not an up-and-coming forward at Richmond that Jack's keeping out of the side. Whereas if Trent's in the midfield and he's keeping out Liam Baker getting more minutes, Jack Graham spending more chunks in there. Dusty Martin, we all know if he wants to go in there, he can do what he wants. But I think that becomes part of the conversation as well.
And if players are more open to understanding next year, if someone does go past them, they might not be in the senior 22 every week. And if they're okay with that, then there is still a role for those players at the footy club. And for what it's worth, Damo, I struggle to see Dusty in another team's colours going forward. I think that he's
and you know him the best.
I think that the environment they've got around him, that's where he's most comfortable. The personality. I think it's a very slim chance that he'll play for another club. That's just an opinion, though.
I totally agree.
Yep.
I can't see him in any other colours, and Dusty's such.
It would only be one of the two Sydney colours.
But he's such a reserved player. Is he the sort of guy that'll go to another club and embrace it and get a group of
It's only Sydney
straight away?
It's only Sydney in the conversation.
Yeah, but he's also got to
as in Sydney, the city.
He's also got to fit into
a new footy club.
that group. I mean, this group they've grown up together. Cotchin being a part of that. In actual fact, Cotchin might be those type of players that leave might have a big say in how Dusty feels about those last 2 years if they do retire.
Dusty's interview with Mitch Cleary, though, on the way into the scan yesterday was unbelievable. Did you
save that? We're saving that for the Daisy Duck Dive. I'll ask you about that next in the Daisy Duck Dive.
That made me laugh.
Damo, what else you got to touch on?
Yeah, we'll just go through a couple of the quick ones, Joey. Rory Lobb, I would argue he's having his best season of the two clubs he's played for, that being GWS initially and now the Dockers. He's contracted as a Docker for next year. I think we touched on this topic this time last week. He then kicked another 3 goals in the weekend, was arguably best on ground, got prominent coaches' votes for what the Dockers did on the weekend.
5 goals.
5 goals. There you go. 3 in the first half. He won't be the way it's unfolding right now at the Dockers next year, and that's going to surprise a few people. That's been out there for some time. I'm not telling anything.
Can he go as a restricted?
No, he's contracted. He's contracted. But it's all to do with Luke Jackson potentially coming in. And at the moment, if that is to happen, they're going to have to move that amount off their books. And it's about 750 or thereabouts of Rory Lobb money on their books. And that would be the starting point for that type of arrangement. He, unlike last year, Joey, when he wanted out, wanting to go back to GWS, is now open. And in fact, clearly, there's a Melbourne-based club on the hook with him.
Do we know why Rory wants to flip-flop?
What would he will be able to do, Duck?
Why does he keep wanting to go?
Last year it was for personal reasons related to, I believe, a partner. This year it's more to do with the fact that he will be able to keep the money he's on roughly, 700, 750, 800, and add a few more years to it, whereas the Dockers aren't offering him, as far as I can tell, beyond the contract he's got for next year. He could actually make this a 3, even 4 year
Well, that's
deal.
fair enough. If he's looking for longevity to extend his career, I don't mind that.
And he's allowed to.
He's a bit of an enigma, isn't he, Rory Lobb? He's best, he's fantastic, but he's very, very hard to catch. He's that great tease. Once every 5 weeks, you see him come through and look like he's going to take the game by the scruff of the neck like he did.
Yeah, I think in his defence days this year, he has put it together to a point.
His best year.
Yeah. So I would have said that about him.
How many years has he been in this?
Well, that's the thing.
And then to demand that sort of cash in the lead up to this point in time, and then ongoing.
When he's on, he looks like Jonathan Brown.
Correct.
That's how good he looks.
Yeah.
What about the latest on the Kangaroos? We have to ask, Damo.
Yeah, it's just a mess. And the 112-point loss to Geelong, in some ways, is almost the least of their problems with now what has been going on for some time off field. We know that they're effectively rudderless. We know they're appointing consultants left, right, and centre on all facets of business. And one of those is Jeff Walsh, who will determine how the football department looks. Again, we're not people in this station anyway, on this show, to death ride people in the positions at the moment, but it's David Noble's not going to be there next year. And while the Jeff Walsh parameter on his review doesn't go to the CEO, there's every chance that that too will be a position of change. And then you get to the board, which, not for the first time, people are looking at what's going on in that space as well. So,
I'm at arm's length, but it's simmering.
Yeah.
It is simmering.
Their performance is spiritless, and you can clearly see that it was spiritless against Adelaide, and then on the weekend, it was there for 10, 15 minutes, arguably the first quarter, when they got themselves back into it. But from that point on, to give up 109 points or whatever it was, and that's the margin you lose by in 3 quarters effectively, the effort wasn't there. They were witches' hats on the weekend, and that becomes a concern because there's nowhere to go from here for them. You can't rock up Monday and salvage anything out of that.
But it's witches' hats. You used a word there, effort. And Joey, you said numerous times during the week, their effort was actually pretty good, but their structure is terrible. So they look like witches' hats.
And that's where you lose your spirit.
That's right. Their spirit broke as the game
correct.
went on.
When you try busting a gut and providing some sort of effort, it then looks like it's not there because your system doesn't stack up.
Dave, you've been staunch on Stewie Dew's claims to a new contract.
Tell me he's got one.
It seems, has seemed likely now for some time that he will get one. It's not yet, as we talk, official, but there's no one saying it's not going to happen.
Except you.
I haven't been saying that. And stop putting words in my mouth. I mean, since you raised it really staunchly, they've lost 2 games, I might add.
By less than a kick.
They did. But what it might have done, Duck, is jeopardise. No, I don't.
No, I'm joking.
Don't change that narrative, Days.
Why do you hate him?
I don't. I think he should keep it. But having said that, how's it look with the 2 losses to Port Adelaide and Collingwood, both by a kick? It's taken them out of the chances of finals as we speak. They can still mathematically make it. What if they fall away? I'm
for some reason, you've almost won me over. I understand that, you're right. The points that you've made, we are in the business of winning. And yes, they've been super competitive. And I think that's what the change has been for me. I'm not so much in the stats of it. It's how it looks.
And you're onto that early. You were onto that early, even when they started poorly.
Correct. They lose to Melbourne early, but it's 13 points, not 30. Those sort of things are the growth that I wanted to see. And I think, if you're looking at the Gold Coast Football Club, that's what you want. And then you see some of the players, the way they're playing. Rankin, for instance, he's turned a corner, becoming a really good small forward. Plus some of the injuries they've had throughout the year as well. Obviously, one of their biggest targets up forward hasn't been there. So all things put out there on the table like that, that's why I'm sort of leaning towards him deserving it. Yes, the wins and losses may not be where you would say they should be or playing finals, but, 5 years in, is he?
Yeah,
it's his 5th year.
Fifth year in. So, and this is the best, and the trajectory is on the way up. I can see both sides of the argument. Do you wait another year and give him,
Well, I suppose we're glad he's got the contract. We all like Stewie Dew. He's doing a really good job. I suppose the question I'm thinking is for next year, though, there's still going to be pressure on Stewie Dew because now there's a level of expectation that they should be playing finals. And if they don't play finals, then the heat's going to be still on Stewie Dew. So unfortunately, I'm not sure he's going to get the respite unless they are the team that we expect next year that are in the top 8.
Can you give a 1 year? Can you give a 1 year deal? I mean,
I think you can.
You can do whatever you want.
I don't know why players play on 1 year deals all the time. In actual fact, there are a lot of players that have played their last 5 or 6 years as they get older on 1 year deals. I don't see the problem with saying, Stu, you've got another year because you've shown us improvement. Show us the same next year, and then we'll give you.
I think pressure is a privilege, as the old saying goes. So for Stewie Dew, he'll actually be embracing the fact that there is expectation, and you can drive and motivate the group on the back of that for a preseason. Hey, we got close this year, but that's still not good enough. So everything needs to lift. I think that's an easy sell, and they can continue to improve next season.
That's the Daisy Duck Dive, where I like to ask Daisy Thomas, Wayne Carey some questions on the spot and give us a straight shooting answer. First question, Daniel McStay, the reports are that it's almost a done deal, 5 years at $600,000 to be at the Pies next season. Is it the right move for Collingwood?
No.
They definitely need a big forward. Is he the one that I'd be paying?
He's a 7 possession player.
Yeah, no. I'm going to say no as well.
So is
Cam-
McStay better than nothing? Is the other alternative? If there's not other key forwards available.
You don't go from being the third banana as a key position player at Brisbane and then go be the number one banana at Collingwood, because he would be, because Myercheck's not big enough. He actually plays as the number one, but he probably shouldn't be. McStay's not that player.
Does Darcy Cameron be the number one forward? Myercheck too. McStay still the third call?
When Grundy comes back, you have Grundy and Cameron changing down there, so that gives you a different look again. But McStay's not my man. And sorry, if I'm McStay, I'm staying at Brisbane.
Daisy?
I'm trying to just process the question, obviously, without notice. I think if they got him for not that price and for not that amount of length of contract, I'd say yes. But it's a big commitment for a bloke that hasn't, as Duck said, he's
Well, then forget about the money and the years, because you can always make that work. Do the Collingwood need Daniel McStay in their team next season?
They need a forward, and he's a forward, so yes.
Okay. Second question. You mentioned Dusty earlier.
When you put it like that, Duck, it's hard to agree not.
And Damo, I want your opinion here as well. So Dusty Martin, we saw yesterday, Mitch Cleary for Channel 7 tried to doorstop him.
Yeah.
Dusty just gave the full-on don't argue as good as we've ever seen. No comment. Is he obliged to speak when he's doorstopped? Is he obliged to say anything?
No, he's not.
Nah.
Damo, what's your view on this?
Look, I take the view, no, Joey. I think to me, it doesn't hurt the individual to just go, sorry, Mitch, I can't, or sorry, whoever it is, I can't talk, or I'm not going to talk today. I expect you what you do. But to just do it, just to not look the way he did, it's not a great look. But you know what? Dusty would not give one hoot and care for what it looks like. And I've experienced that with Dusty too in a former life when I was having a camera at times. And we were at the airport one day when the day he was going to the Sydney to go and have the interview with GWS, he gave me no at the airport too. That's how he does it. He does it so well.
You can always, the problem with it, and people don't understand that he's obviously well sought after. And the guy's emotional, and he's got a lot going on. He's just injured himself. He's had an up and down year. He's had a very tumultuous year with his father and everything else. And just even driving up and seeing it, journo, and it's not about, Mitch should understand it's not about him.
Yeah,
I don't think Mitch has an issue with it.
No, he shouldn't take it personally because it's not directed at him. It's just, as soon as Dusty would have seen anyone for that matter.
Well, we've all been doorstopped, haven't we? It is a bit of a different feeling.
He would have been negative straight away and thought, I can't believe this, and bang. So, you know what? Door stopping.
It's a natural reaction. We've all been doorstopped, haven't we? And your natural reaction is to, no, I don't want it. Because generally it's in a negative situation if you're getting doorstopped. You don't want to engage in it and give them anything.
Mitch Cleary doorstopped me on the way. I went up to Sydney when I had my sore ankle to see a surgeon. And somehow he got wind that I'd snuck off to Fiji. I was about to, and I hadn't told the footy club this at the time. I just thought I'd duck away for me 4 days. And he stopped me at the airport. And this is the time when Damo was the number one man in the media.
I remember this. Yeah.
Poor Mitch stopped me, and I said, sent the work experience kid, did they? Where's Barrett? Probably at Essendon, and just walked off.
I think you tweeted that as well after you did.
I did. I took a photo of him and said, sent the work experience kid. So, poor Mitch.
I don't know about doorstopped. What about followed overseas on a few occasions?
You have, haven't you?
Yeah, oh boy.
I had Tom Brown.
Tony Jones followed you.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Tony did.
And you agreed to a sit-down interview with him, didn't you?
I was followed and not found.
I had Tom Brown try and doorstop me when I did my hamstring and whether I was going to play again. I could see Tom Brown through the window across the road waiting out the front of a cafe. So I rang the cafe and said, can you send out Tom Brown a coffee and say, oh, hang on. And I went out the back door, went for a walk. He never saw me. So
one of the journos once put a koala suit on him, but he wasn't sitting at a gum tree. He was sitting at a different. I said, mate, koalas don't eat those leaves. I know you're.
What are you talking about?
What is this a gag?
Is that a gag?
Is that a joke, Duck, or is that?
We'll edit that bit. We'll edit that bit from the show.
Yeah, of course we will.
Hasn't anyone ever put a koala suit on out the front of your house?
No, Duck.
Oh, they have for me.
Oh,
Maybe fashion that into a jumping out of a bin one, I reckon.
No, they've put a koala suit on.
A couple of quick more Daisy Duck dives. Are you now both with me that the Bombers will be okay? Will the Bombers be okay? Or are you still not convinced with Essendon?
I think the Bombers can bounce back next year.
Yeah, I was with you that it was more half full than half empty.
Duck, are you declaring now that Port Adelaide can't make the 8? You're giving it to us.
Now, I declared that a few weeks ago, by the way.
I think you declared it after round 5 as well, didn't you?
No, I said they could make it.
You thought they might.
They can't.
All right, and just a couple of quick ones. Is it a blip on the radar or a concern with these teams' losses on the weekend? Carlton's lost to St Kilda. A blip or a concern?
Given their draw, it's a blimp.
Yeah, Blimp.
What about
blip?
Sydney's loss to the Bombers? A blip or a concern?
Yeah, blimp as well.
Are we going with blimp or
I
blip?
think it's blip.
Blip.
Yeah.
Yeah, no M, Duck.
That's not a blimp.
No,
Blip.
the blimp's the thing.
That's the thing in the sky.
Oh, well, they're
Mind you,
pretty
they
big.
crash from the sky.
Yeah, they can.
They can crash.
They can crash.
Sydney?
Sydney, yeah, I'd say concern.
Concern?
Yep.
And the last one, the Western Bulldogs, after their loss to Brisbane, the way they lost. Blip or a concern?
Well, because I couldn't say blip, I'm going to say concern for the Bulldogs for me.
I haven't had them in my 8, so I'd say expected.
This is Triple M Footy's midweek rub. We're going to take a look at all the action from round 17 after a bit of a hit and miss on last round. Now, Duck, someone alerted me too that you know Damo Duck takes his tips very seriously, doesn't
Very.
he? He takes injuries, ins and outs, and he changes his tips. Someone told me that Duck's actually last in the age tipping.
Someone told me that this week too. Is that
Are you really last?
and
You
I-
put so much thought and effort into it.
That's rhubarb. You know.
No, I
The
think
reason
it's
why
true,
I
though.
don't. The reason why I don't is because I have to put in the tips for the age 2 days. So injuries. So at the start of the year, before we knew COVID,
Ducky, you're last on the age.
all of those for all of those reasons, Damo, because I've got to put them in at the start of the week, not at the end of the
But
week.
so does everyone else in the age.
Well, no, they
So
don't.
someone in the age.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe.
yes, they do.
No, I don't think.
Don't you sit here on a Wednesday often and say this might be different because I might change it in
Yes.
the age, which means you
Yes.
might do it after this, which is done on a
I
Wednesday?
tell you what, I haven't had.
Who's ahead of you on the age tipping? Give
I
us a
haven't-
name that's ahead of you.
I haven't had a good year.
Malcolm
No,
Turnbull.
of, the tipping. Malcolm Turnbull, Johnny Howard. I don't know.
Oh, well, let's take a look. While Daisy, you quickly look, see if you can find the age tipping, see some
so-
names that are ahead.
So is that your little drive-by? Is it?
That
Joey?
was actually. No, I only thought of it when we were thinking
Oh, yeah,
about
of course.
Jake
tips.
Niles coming second. Matty Stokes is winning on 100. Greg Baum.
Yeah.
Bormy.
Yeah, Baumey, what a man.
Army. Bormy.
Damo, let's start with Geelong, Melbourne, because that is the big one
It
tomorrow
is.
night. It's huge. Probably at the moment, we think the top 2 seeds in the competition. How do you see it? Pop?
Yeah, and only 2 weeks ago we looked at this same corresponding game on the Thursday night. It was Melbourne versus Brisbane,
right.
and we thought, here's the grand final preview, and then Melbourne did a number on Brisbane to a point. So now we go to round 17. I'm like you. I do see this as the grand final preview right now, and I'm all in on the Cats for that big game, and particularly this game in this round.
I think I'm going to tip Melbourne. Wouldn't be surprised if Geelong win, and I don't think the result really would scare Melbourne if they did lose. This game last year, remember, was an absolute cracker down there after the siren sort of set up. So
It flew home.
I'm going to
Wasn't this
tip
the big-
Melbourne, but
Gone game.
again, a completely different ballpark, literally, to what you get out here on MCG on Grand Final Day.
Tom Stewart was playing a tip Cats, but I think I'm just going to, in a close one, I'm going to stay with Melbourne.
And as we speak, we always
Big
like to do
ins.
that. Gorn
Yeah.
and Jackson both back
Both-
into the
both.
side.
As we speak, both in.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to go Geelong as well, though. I think Geelong's at the moment playing better football than Melbourne.
Before you move off this topic
I agree
and
with
go to
that.
another game, just you guys have all had moments where you were the dominant team coming up against the equally dominant or near dominant team in a season. You've all had those games. You in that famous game, Joey, against St Kilda and the Cats. What do you do in a home and away game? Do you hold something just a little bit in reserve, or does the coach hold something back without even telling players in reserve to use on a bigger stage?
Generally, the top teams don't really have any secrets. I think you sort of know how they play. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I think no.
I think in this one it'd be interesting to see whether they go the tag. That's the only thing I could think about,
Yep.
whether O'Connor goes and runs with an Oliver from go to woe or tries it for a quarter. That's the only thing.
Might try it for a quarter even. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, whether
Yep.
you that's your plan
Yep.
and it might be in a grand final, you stick with it.
We've
or,
got it there if we need it. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, well, we played the Bulldogs here in 1998, the last round, to
That's
see who
right,
finished on
yeah.
top spot, and that was just toe-to-toe. I think we
Yeah.
won by about 8 points or something like that. So to answer your question, no, I'm a big believer in just going for it.
I think
Get
it's a
the
game
win.
dependent. I think so. If you're going to try something, it's because of the way the game's panning out, rather than having something up your sleeve that you might automatically go to. But it is fascinating. Hey, Sydney Western Bulldogs is also a big one Friday night at the SCG. The Dogs probably have to win if they want to play finals. Sydney, it's a massive game for them. If they lose, they become really vulnerable. How do you two boys seeing this one playing out? Sydney, because they're hard to catch, the Swans.
They are.
Hard to catch.
Swans with no confidence for me. I can't give you a reason or any rhyme about that. But, Sydney, just purely because it's up there. Although in saying that, I think the Western Bulldogs won 3 or 4 up there. So the ground doesn't worry them. I think the Swans are just playing better footy, and I haven't liked the Western Bulldogs from the start.
Yeah, because of the ground, I think it suits the Bulldogs a little bit, but I'm going to go with Sydney with no confidence. I agree with.
Yeah, I'm going the Western Bulldogs again with no real confidence. I'm just not completely sold on the Swans, and I think the Dogs, you're right, their midfield might get on top here and give themselves a chance, but again, who knows with that one. What about St Kilda Fremantle? Another huge game, ramifications for St Kilda to play finals, Freo to finish top 4 and get a home final over in Perth. This is at Marvel on Saturday. Again, toss of the coin.
This has got the most ramifications, I think, in a way for the finals positions of all the games.
I could not be more bullish on Fremantle.
Right.
Fill up last week, it was for Brisbane. Sit and steer Geelong v GWS. I would combine both of those phrases. I can't believe they're outsiders in this one.
You think Freo certainties?
St Kilda got beat, or they won on the weekend because Carlton couldn't kick.
Yeah.
Their form before that was horrific. We were saying they'd fallen off the cliff. That cliff they should still be falling down. I think this is just a genuine, sit up for the photo job for Freo.
Days, you've convinced me to now back Fremantle in this game.
Freo,
I was wavering, but now I'm on you.
Now I'm with you. I agree that Stuart Dew should be sacked.
I must say, Freo failed at Marvel a few weeks ago against Carlton. They were dismal against the Blues at Marvel.
Yeah, they own territory, the Blues, in that game, didn't they? I'm going to go with Fremantle. I think Fremantle in a close one.
Good one. What about any more we want to touch on? The other big game. What about Gold Coast Richmond up at Metricon? Because Richmond do need to win. I mean, we keep loving the way the Tigers play, but they're outside the 8. So Tigers, can they beat Gold Coast? Because Gold Coast, Daisy, you've spoken about their form has been very, very good. They've been unlucky, Damo, in their last couple of games.
Unlucky, but ultimately lost both games. Port Adelaide and Collingwood. Look, they're still, as I said before, mathematically possible, and there's no reason they can't win 5 of their last 7. So they need to win that one as a result of that.
Yeah, I'll be tipping the Tigers in that one. I think it should be a cracking game. Gold Coast, I've been on them all year, but I just think the Tigers, again, they need to win this to stay within that 8. They've got that touch more to play
They
for.
are in the 8, the Tigers. I said they were out. Apologies, they were in
sitting
the
7th, I think they are. So that's another one about huge ramifications. If they drop that to a team that isn't going to make finals, it just makes that logjam 8th through 10th a lot tighter.
Gold Coast could win, but I'm tipping the Tigers.
Last game, Daisy,
yeah,
you want to touch on?
I said last week I was a nervous Carlton supporter with the game coming up. Slightly again, West Coast Carlton over at Optus Stadium. Should be a game that Carlton go on and win comfortably. West Coast have improved, there's no doubting that.
Wiedering back?
Yep.
We think so.
He said he'd be back to Triple M footy last weekend. He said he'd be back. Yep.
But he did. What worried me about that, it was a sort of a weird answer because he said, I tried to play this week and my shoulder didn't stand up, so it was really sore. But because it's a 9-day break, that gives me a better chance. I'm thinking if it's sore leading into last week, so he's clearly going to go in not at 100%. But with him back in, it does give them...
He's also not the world's greatest linguist, to be completely honest. He might have tried to get something out that he meant differently. You know, it came out...
Coming from Shakespeare himself.
Yeah, well, I have a thesaurus, Joseph.
You do, by the way.
Look, I think the Blues win that one, but there will be, until that final bell, there'll be some very, very nervous Carlton supporters.
I agree. We nicked that back in the side at home. They are a completely different looking team, the Eagles. This is a massive danger game for the Blues. They've got to be very...
Good thing that Yo went down with that hammy.
Got to be on their game. Hey, another great edition of Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub, of course. Remember, it's exclusive on the Listener app, and don't forget you can listen to every game this weekend live on Triple M and the Listener app, starting with tomorrow night, Thursday, down at the Cattery v Melbourne. Thanks for listening to Midweek Rub. We'll be back to do it all again next week.